In the winter of 2023, a retired machinist in rural Ohio posted a video that got almost no views for 3 weeks and then quietly exploded across every tool forum and homesteading group in the country. He had a 1974 cast iron hand plane that looked like it had been pulled from the bottom of a lake. The surface was orange-brown from decades of sitting in a damp shed. He took a small plastic bag that he ordered online for $3, brushed a thin coat of dark liquid onto the rusted surface, and left the camera running. The orange rust turned gray, then deep blue-black, in front of the viewer's eyes. In real time, the rust did not just disappear. It became something else entirely. It became a hard shell that he wiped with linseed oil and handed to his grandson. The entire treatment cost less than a fast food coffee, and the tool that was supposed to be scrap metal is now being used in a woodworking shop in Cleveland today. Here is what bothers most people when they find out about this. It is not new. The United States military used this exact chemistry to protect tanks, rifles, and artillery during World War II. Before that, the British Royal Navy documented it in the 1850s. And before that, Roman blacksmiths stumbled onto it 2,000 years before the first hardware store ever opened its doors. Welcome to the channel. Today, we are opening a vault that connects ancient iron workers to modern garages. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly how to use this chemistry yourself for about $3. Right now, corrosion costs the United States $276 billion every single year. That number comes from the Federal Highway Administration's own study, and it reflects only the direct financial damage. Metal structures, vehicles, tools, infrastructure, silently eaten by a process that never stops on its own. In 2025, a professional rust treatment service charges between $500 and $800 for what is chemically the same reaction you can produce in your driveway with a foam brush and a bag of powder. Here's the part that should bother you the most. Most people losing the fight against rust are not losing because they lack access to the right product. They are losing because the right product is sold in $15 to $30 branded bottles at the hardware store, and nobody has ever told them what the back label actually says. Pick up any bottle of rust converter and read the ingredients. You will find two things: tannic acid and phosphoric acid. That is the entire formula. The active chemistry is a naturally occurring plant compound that costs $3 for a 100-gram bag at any health food supplier or online seller. That 100-gram bag treats roughly 40 square feet of heavily rusted metal. It treats an entire truck frame, every outdoor tool you own, and a full set of cast iron cookware. The $15 bottle treats a single hinge. The reason you have never heard of the cheap version is not complicated, and we will get to that. But first, you need to understand what this chemistry is actually doing, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. 1,400 years before the first industrial factory, ancient Roman leatherworkers were soaking animal hides in stone vats filled with a dark brown liquid made from crushed oak bark. The word tanning comes from the Latin tannum, meaning oak. Every leatherworker in the Roman Empire understood that this liquid had a peculiar effect on iron. Every iron tool that accidentally slipped into the tanning vats came out coated in a thin, dark film that refused to rust. By the 2nd century, Roman military records explicitly reference iron preservation baths using bark solutions. Garrison records carved into tablets at Vindolanda, a Roman fort near Hadrian's Wall, describe soldiers soaking chainmail after every river crossing, because a soldier with a jammed weapon was a dead soldier. This is not legend. This is documented military maintenance procedure from 2,000 years ago. Now, take that same observation 6,000 miles east to feudal Japan. Japanese swordsmiths faced a problem almost no one talks about. A katana is not one piece of metal. The razor edge is hard, high-carbon steel, but the spine is softer iron, and that soft iron was acutely vulnerable to Japan's subtropical humidity. An untreated blade core could develop visible rust within weeks. The craftsman's solution was kakishibu, a fermented liquid pressed from unripe persimmons, which are rich in tannin, the exact same compound Roman soldiers used on the opposite side of the planet. The bond it formed was so stable that specific kakishibu formulations became fiercely guarded trade secrets passed only from master to apprentice. Then travel to West Africa, where Yoruba ironworkers had been forging iron since at least 500 BC. They faced 6 months of monsoon rainfall every year, humidity so thick that unprotected iron could rust visibly overnight. Their answer came from the forest. Tannin-rich extracts from shea bark and acacia pods painted onto blades and agricultural tools before every rainy season. 3 civilizations, opposite ends of the earth, zero contact with each other, all arriving at the same molecule. This is not folklore. This is convergent chemistry, the same molecular truth discovered independently by every civilization that worked seriously with iron. In 1813, French chemist Henri Braconnot isolated tannic acid as a pure compound for the first time and documented precisely what it does to iron oxide. When tannic acid contacts rust, which is chemically iron 3 oxide, it reacts and converts it into a completely different substance called ferric tannate. Here's the distinction that changes everything. Ferric tannate is not a coating sitting on top of the rust. It is a chemical conversion. The rust itself becomes the protection. The existing corrosion bonds with the tannin and transforms into a compound that is hard, water-insoluble, and tightly anchored to the steel surface. A traditional coating sits on top of the metal like a bandage. Eventually, moisture finds a microscopic scratch, the coating lifts, and the rust returns. A conversion transforms the rust itself into the protective barrier. The disease becomes the cure. Adding phosphoric acid to the formula accelerates the reaction and converts any remaining rust into iron phosphate, a second protective layer. Together, they outperform either compound alone. This is exactly why every major branded rust converter uses both. The Canadian Conservation Institute, responsible for preserving iron artifacts in museums for centuries to come, uses this exact procedure. The same chemistry protecting a 300-year-old cannon costs $3 at your local health food store. When World War II erupted in 1939, rust became a military emergency. Sherman tanks arriving in North Africa had corroded track links and seized turret rings. Rifles stored in the Pacific jammed within weeks from humidity. In 1941, the United States War Department launched a preservation research program at the Aberdeen Proving Ground in Maryland. Researchers tested over 200 anti-corrosion compounds on steel panels inside accelerated salt spray chambers. The results, declassified in 1947, were decisive. A 4% tannic acid solution withstood over 1,000 hours of continuous salt spray without failure. The best synthetic competitor broke down at 600 hours. Procurement officers immediately began ordering tannic acid in bulk for Jeep chassis, rifle barrels, ammunition cans, and landing craft hinges across 3 theaters of war. The most powerful military machine in history chose a $3 plant extract over everything the chemical industry could offer. And it was not a close call. After 1945, the American chemical industry had a problem. Companies that had invested in synthetic rust inhibitors during the war had built entire distribution networks and marketing departments around products costing 10 to 50 times more than natural tannic acid. A powder any person could mix for $3 was not a product opportunity. It was a threat to a business model, and the business model won, not through any cover-up, but through the grinding logic of profit margins. Tannic acid cannot be patented. It is a naturally occurring compound found in oak bark, tea leaves, chestnut husks, and grape skins. You cannot build a recurring revenue business around something that costs less than a cup of coffee and lasts for years. So the industry repackaged it. They dissolved tannic acid in petroleum solvents, poured it into a branded bottle, and sold it back to you at 10 to 15 times its actual cost. After 1978, reformulation guidelines allowed manufacturers to list active ingredients under proprietary trade names. So simple tannic acid became stabilized oxide modification technology. The same ancient molecule, new vocabulary, dramatically higher price. Today, corrosion-related repairs account for roughly $90 billion a year in the U.S. automotive aftermarket alone. That revenue depends entirely on you never learning that the permanent fix costs $3. Step 1. Purchase food-grade tannic acid powder from any health food supplier or online retailer. A 100-gram bag costs $3 to $5 and treats approximately 40 square feet of rusted surface. Step 2. Dissolve 4 grams of the powder, roughly 1 level teaspoon, into 100 milliliters of warm distilled water. Use distilled, not tap water. Minerals and chloride in tap water interfere with the reaction. The liquid will turn the deep color of strong black tea. That is the tannin. Step 3. Add 1 teaspoon of navel jelly, which is dilute phosphoric acid. Available at any hardware store for $2 to $3. Stir gently. This is your complete rust conversion solution. Step 4. Scrub the rusted surface briefly with a wire brush or steel wool. Knock off the loose, flaking material only. Do not sand down to bare metal. The solution needs the existing rust to convert. Bare metal gives it nothing to react with. Step 5. Apply the solution with a foam brush or old rag, then watch. Within 10 to 15 minutes, the rust shifts from orange to brown to gray to deep blue-black. That color change is the molecular conversion happening in real time. Step 6. Let the surface dry fully 2 to 4 hours, then apply a second thin coat. 2 thin coats dried between applications bond far more tightly than 1 thick layer. Step 7. Finish based on use. Tools and knives get a wipe of boiled linseed oil or melted beeswax. Vehicle frames get a coat of rubberized undercoating. Cast iron cookware gets reseasoned in the oven at 350 degrees with a thin film of oil. Total material cost for everything, under $6. Total time, 45 minutes. Compare that to the $800 dealership rust package built around the same reaction. Under normal storage conditions, this coating holds for years, hard and water resistant. Tools used heavily outdoors benefit from a light touch-up once per season. Salt is the one accelerant that degrades the coating faster than normal wear. So if you live near the ocean or drive heavily salted winter roads, plan for a touch-up every few months. The onoscope matters. This works on iron and steel, anything that rusts orange. Axes, knives, truck frames, cast iron pans, farm machinery, gate hinges, wood stove doors. If it rusts orange, this converts it. It does not work on aluminum, brass, copper, zinc, stainless steel, or galvanized metal. Those metals corrode through entirely different chemistry, and the tannin reaction has nothing to grab onto. Iron and steel is most of what actually rusts orange in a shed, a garage under stick, or under a truck, so the scope is wide enough to matter. Your grandfather likely knew a version of this. He may have called it tanking the iron or the tea treatment. He probably did not know the chemistry, but he understood that certain plant liquids stopped iron from rusting because he had watched it happen. That knowledge lived in his hands and passed to his children until the hardware aisle filled with $30 bottles, and the knowledge stopped needing to be passed down because there was always a product to buy instead. No markup can change chemistry. Iron tannate does not expire, and oak trees have never charged a licensing fee. The information has been sitting on the shelf the whole time. Most people just never knew to ask for it. If this video changed how you see the rust on your axe head, your truck frame, or your cast iron pan, share it with one person fighting that same rust with a $30 spray bottle. Subscribe, because the next video covers sharpening dull axes, knives, and shears with a stone, a strop, in 10 minutes, bringing a blade back better than it came from the factory. Stay curious, stay self-reliant, and I will see you next time.